All righty, welcome back to the Fast Break podcast here on the Variety Sports Network. I'm your host, Shoot Durock, and 3 weeks from tonight, so 3 episodes from now, we're going to have a bracket. I'm going to be live on here giving my March Madness picks. That's how close we are. I can't wait. I'm excited. We had a lot of great games this past weekend, especially now, like Winter Olympics are over, so it's like full go on hoops. Literally all that's on tonight is college basketball and NBA. It's the same way tonight and tomorrow. Shout out the U.S. men's and women's team getting the gold here in hockey in the Winter Olympics. But now we're on to basketball. It's full going basketball. Like I said, 3 weeks from tonight, we're going to have a bracket. And, 6 weeks from tonight, we're going to have a national championship game. And then after that, it's like a week after that, the NBA playoffs start. So great time of year here for basketball. If you're a big basketball fan, you're in the right place. Make sure to join us here every Monday night around, here 7 Eastern time, or as you see tonight, a little bit later. I'm going to be talking ball. So we're going to start here in college basketball like we usually do. This weekend we had the top 16 teams revealed here by the selection committee. Granted, it was kind of it's a borderline kind of irrelevant by now. A couple days after the bracket, or kind of after it was revealed, not even a couple days, couple hours, just because of some of the results that we're going to get here too next. So, to start here in the Midwest region, they had the 1 seed is Michigan, the 2 seed is Houston, the 3 seed is Virginia, and the 3 seed is Florida, 4 seed is Virginia. In the East, they had Duke as the 1, Illinois as the 2, Kansas as the 3, Vanderbilt as the 4. In the South, they had Iowa State as the 1, UConn as the 2, Nebraska as the 3, Texas Tech as the 4. And then the West, they had Arizona 1, Purdue 2, Gonzaga 3, Michigan State 4. So like I said, I think this obviously we're going to see a change here right away. As like I said, we're going to talk about here in a second. Michigan was the number 1 overall seed. They lost to Duke. So we're probably now going to see Duke be the number 1 overall seed. But honestly, despite being number 1 overall seed there, I feel like Michigan got a really tough draw. I feel like Houston's probably the best 2 seed. Like them and Iowa State are kind of in the debate here for the last one. So to see them put Houston in that region, and again, this is all just like right now. There's still, 2 more weeks of the regular season. We got conference tournaments. There's going to be a lot that changes. Florida, which is a team that I think a lot of people are talking about, is like a sneaky 3 seed, which I don't blame them at all. It's a team that won the national title last year that has the experience, has the bigs that are from that national title team, and the guards are kind of starting to come around. In Virginia, I kind of talked about, I was recording some other stuff today. Virginia's kind of like underrated here. They're going to play Duke this weekend, so we'll see how they stack up against these other top ACC teams. But like they're 24-3, like they're a really good team as well. So like in that region, if I had to pick a team to come out of it, that's probably where I'm going off the board. Like I said, I don't think this year's tournament is going to be all 1 seeds. I think last year, I've talked about this a lot on different shows. Last year's 1 seeds were all historically good, like top teams ever. And granted, I think the top is very good. Like in all honesty, I have a hard time picking a Final Four team that's kind of not, one of these 16 teams here. I think we're still going to see a lot of top dogs in the Final Four, but we're not going to see all 1 seeds again. I can guarantee you that. I think we're going to see, some 5, 6 seeds definitely get upset. I think there's too good of, 11 and 12 seeds with some of these mid-majors where we're going to see some upsets. And I don't know, maybe even a 4 seed could go out. Like a team like Vanderbilt, they could get upset. A team like Texas Tech now without JT Toppin, who knows? A wrong matchup, somebody could beat them as well. So I don't think, we're going to see this, all 1 seed Final Four again. So because of that, in this region, I liked Florida, honestly, to get to the Final Four. I think Florida has the bigs to match up with Michigan. It's just kind of the guard play where I'm really not super high in either team's guards. I think they're both, very big, heavy. So I think Florida could potentially take them down. So for that reason, like Florida would be who I'd have come out of the Midwest here as of now. In the East, honestly, I feel like Duke got a really good draw here in all honesty. Kansas, you have the whole Darren Peterson, will he, won't he play, which we can talk about as well when we talk about this weekend's games. And then, Vanderbilt, like I said, they're a fun story, but I feel like they've kind of come back down to earth here a little bit. So we'll kind of see what happens there. Illinois is a really good team. However, they too got upset over the weekend by UCLA. So in the East here, I would like Duke, especially, as a Duke fan here, maybe a little bit biased, but I feel like they got a pretty good draw there. And, it's teams that they would match up well against, where I would like them to go to the Final Four out of that region. In the South, there's some fun teams. Like I said, Iowa State's going to be like the 4th 1 seed. It's going to be a battle between, is it going to be them? Is it going to be Houston? Honestly, now probably after Iowa State lost over the weekend to BYU, it might be Houston. UConn there's the 2, who's also a really good team, good 2 seed there. Nebraska, who, they've never won a tournament game, but they're poised to go deep here. They're undefeated here late into the season, have now suffered a couple losses here in the Big Ten, but still a really solid team. And then Texas Tech, like I said, kind of a wild card where they still had JT Toppin. Honestly, in this region, I'd probably be taking Texas Tech to go to the Final Four, but just no JT Toppin. I've kind of talked about it a little bit on other shows. I guess I didn't do this show last week, so I haven't heard about it on here as much. But yeah, now with JT Toppin out for the year, I just don't really think Texas Tech can kind of match his production. Like, they're a very top-heavy team with him and Christian Anderson. And even just like Christian Anderson, I think, is going to kind of take a step back without having Toppin to rely on as much. So in that region, just because, like I said, again, it's I don't think it's going to be all 4 1 seeds. I actually went with UConn. You're not maybe the team I'm the most high on. Like, I don't think UConn can win the national championship. I know, like, Ryan Hammer was talking about this, and I was kind of talking about too, where there's probably around, I think, like 7 teams that are true contenders, where you're looking at Michigan, Duke, Houston, Arizona. I'd put Iowa State, and then it's kind of like, after that, I said Florida. I like Florida. And then it's kind of like, do you include UConn? Do you include Purdue kind of thing, where they're teams like 7 and 8. So it's really like 6, 7, maybe 8 teams that could win it all out of the bunch. So like UConn's kind of on the low end there. So I don't really know how this all would match, but like say like UConn has to play Florida or UConn has to play Duke. I'm taking, those 2 teams over UConn, but I would say probably there, I think UConn could beat Iowa State just because of that tournament, the experience they have. And, it kind of depends on the guards there, where like, can Solo Ball, kind of get things turned around. He has good games. He has not so great games. So we'll see there. And then finally the West. I mean, this is just kind of naturally going to be the weakest region just because of geography. That's where I really do like Arizona to make the Final Four here. I feel like they get a good draw. As long as Arizona can kind of right the ship here and maintain this final 1 seed. I mean, we saw they lost 2 games 2 weeks ago, but then, bounce back with the wins against BYU and then at Houston, a game I did not expect them to win over the weekend. So if the Wildcats can keep that 1 seed, I think they're, going to have a good path there to the Final Four. Purdue, like I said, it's one of those teams like maybe you could see as a national title contender, but I'm not super high on where, Braden Smith and all those guys. Like I said, it's really just Braden Smith, and then like the bigs actually did play better this week in Clough and Jacobson, but I would like Arizona's bigs a lot better in that matchup. Gonzaga is another kind of like, I've talked about this a lot with Carter Baum on his show on Carter Cast, as well as when he made an appearance on my show last week, where Gonzaga, like, they're good, but like, who have they play in the WCC? I feel like they're not really tested. Neither of us are super high on this Gonzaga team. That's honestly a team where, they get the wrong matchup. Maybe they too could get upset early. And then Michigan State, good squad. Tom Izzo, you're never going to count them out in March, but I would say Purdue's a better team than them. I mean, we're going to see, and Arizona's definitely a better team than them. We're going to see Purdue and Michigan State go at it this week, so that should be a fun one. So as of right now, like I said, after the Saturday's results that we'll get to here, literally just right after this, if I had to pick a Final Four, I'd go Florida, Duke, UConn, and Arizona out of this bracket, where I'd probably, because I don't know how they would match up, but if it was Duke and Arizona, it would be the 2 teams I'd like to play in the title game there. And right now, I'd probably have Duke winning it, because we'll transition to that. They're now the number 1 team in the country after a big win this weekend. This was a fun one. Duke takes down Michigan 68-63 in Washington, D.C. I got to shout out these 2 coaches, Dusty May and John Shire, for playing this game. You'll love to see it. And it was a clash of the Titans. It was the game, as cliche as it is. It felt like a Final Four national title game. This was something, like I said, I talked about on my show with Carter last week. This honestly could have been a national title game preview. Like, I would love to see these 2 teams face off again in the national title game. I think just too, with like the history of the Fab Five teams against like Christian Laettner, like this game just kind of has like an aura about it, where, there's going to be all these old clips of those games kind of going on. Like, they played a lot in that era. And this game had a feel like that too. You have Cam Boozer going against the Axel Lendenborg, the stud freshman, the probably going to be player of the year, against the guy who is now at the power conference rate and still just dominating like he did at UAB last year. So Lendenborg was the game leader with 21 points in this one. But like I said, Duke ends up getting the win. And really just for Duke, I almost feel like it was the other guy stepping up. Like Boozer made the plays when it mattered. He scores 18 in this one. He even knocks down a three, goes for 10 rebounds as well with 7 assists. Like played really well. But I felt like other guys stepped up, and that was kind of what Carter and I talked about in the preview. Like both Isaiah Evans and Caleb Foster here in double figures with 12 and 14 respectively. Foster knocks down 2 of his 3 threes. Isaiah Evans, not a great shooting night, takes 15 shots, 9 threes, only hits 2 of them, but they were big threes when he hit them, as well as, Duke gets a rebound late where then Evans knocked in the free throws at the end there to seal the deal. And it was one where, my biggest fear with this Duke team was just their ability to win close games, because lately, a lot of their losses are the close games that they kind of give away. And today they didn't. On Saturday they didn't. They actually finished this game. They played well down the stretch. I felt like defensively they did a good job too. Granted, Michigan might have gotten a tough whistle. Like Ade Mara only had 10 points in this one with 4 rebounds, but he was in foul trouble. He had 4 fouls. He picked up 2 really quick to start the game as well, where maybe if he's in the game, things go a little bit differently. But I mean, that's just kind of how it happens. That's basketball. Guys are going to pick up fouls. I thought it was smart from Duke to kind of try to attack him, get him out of the game. Morez Johnson on the Michigan side also with 13 points in this one with 6 rebounds. Real stinker though from the guards from Michigan. Elliot Cadeau had 8 points on 8 shots, 1 of 6 from beyond the arc. And that was something, Carter talked about on my show, where in most of the time against Duke, literally the only good game that Elliot Cadeau's had against Duke was in the ACC tournament last year when Cooper Flagg didn't play. Other than that, he has really struggled against Duke, and it showed here once again tonight. And then Namari Burnett too. And he only played 17 minutes, but he doesn't score at all. So when you only get, 8 points from your starting backcourt, LJ Kaysen does come off the bench with 7. He's been playing really well here lately for the Wolverines. Like that's not a recipe for success, especially then when you have a guy like Morez Johnson in foul trouble. And also just for Duke, Patrick Gongba also just played really well. He has 11 points this one with 6 rebounds. Like I said, Duke, I just felt like did a good job of being physical and, just attacking Michigan inside, where a lot of teams, granted, that's just because of how Michigan's defense is how they play defense, where they almost like dare you to take it inside and they know they're going to shut you down. Duke just went at them. Duke didn't care, and Duke was able to, because they have the bigs that are just as talented, go at them and score inside, where that kind of took away Michigan's key defensively. And that's where, the Blue Devils end up getting the win here. They end up hanging on as well, too. Like I said, took the lead late, didn't give it back. They also had a lead heading into half. So to just end up, pulling away with this one game, they led 60% of the game. Like I said, that's very much just the recipe for Duke to give away the game. Like they have in a lot of losses. Granted, I guess maybe too, some of those losses, they've been up big and then, they let their foot off the gas, where this game was never a blowout. I mean, the largest lead for Duke was 8. The largest lead for Michigan was 5. Like, this was a game played within single digits the entire game. It was a great game. Like I said, I really want to see these two teams play again. It was a lot of fun. But credit the Blue Devils for picking up the big win there. Then the other big one on Saturday. And, some people are saying this might even be a more impressive win. And you know what? They might have a case. Granted, there almost was too much like discrediting from Duke from this win. Like people were, I was listening to Fuel 68. They're like, if Michigan then played again, like Michigan probably still be favored. And then, like I said, they're saying Arizona's a more impressive win, which I don't blame them. But like Duke's now the number 1 team in the country. They beat the number 1 team. Number 2 also lost here in Houston. Like Duke's number 1 team. That was an impressive win. I don't know why people are kind of trying to downplay it. I guess just because it's Duke. But Arizona wins 73-66 at Houston. Like I mentioned, might be the more impressive win because Houston was 6-point favorites in this one, where I just kind of thought, especially with it being at Houston, both me and Carter agreed with this on the preview, that Houston was a better team here. Arizona, they've suffered 2 losses last week, and they rebound against BYU during the week, get the win, but Houston's a better team than BYU. Thought this would be a really tough test, but now, once again, Arizona just keeps kind of getting these wins on neutral courts and on the road, and, they go into UConn, they now win at Houston, they start the year, granted, games in Vegas, so it's probably more of an Arizona home game. But they beat Florida, the defending national champs, who's now, are right back in the mix of being a national title team. So, like, they have beat 3 of, like, the top 3 teams in the country at the time. At the time they beat them, I believe all 3 were ranked in the top 3. And that's just really impressive. It was led by 16 from Ivan Karchenkov. He also had 9 rebounds. And then Jaden Bradley had 17, but it took him 17 shots. Like, I didn't really think the guards for Arizona played great in this game. Took a lot of shots. I mean, even Bradley only shot 5 of 10 from the line. But they just kind of scrapped and they found a way to win this one. Like Burries only goes for 7. Anthony Del Orso has just continued to be a spark plug off the bench here, though. Second straight game, he goes for 22 points, is the Arizona leader, and he comes off the bench, goes for 22 second game in a row. Granted, does play 34 minutes, but like if he can keep kind of shooting it the way he has, he shoots 2 of 5 from beyond the arc here. They're 8 of 14 in total. Like, because that's kind of Arizona's thing is they don't really have to take a ton of threes to beat you. So to have the one guy there that they can go to shoot the three, that's like a whole nother layer here for Arizona where it makes them that much more dangerous, in my opinion. Because they got the bigs, and granted, no Koa Pete in this one as well, where that was another reason that Carter and I thought they might struggle was, how are they going to match the physicality that Houston plays with without probably their most physical player, as well as, other guy, Aristotle didn't play in this one either. So losing, two of their go-to bigs, and they still end up pulling out the win. Very impressive. Tobe Awaka only 7 in this one with 6 rebounds as well, though. Arizona doesn't shoot the ball great in this game, only 45%, but better than Houston. Houston only shoots 36% from this game. Their leader was Kingston Flemings with 17, but same thing. Took him 17 shots, only goes 1 of 4 from beyond the arc. Like, Arizona just played really well defensively in this game, kind of beat Houston at their own game, hands the Cougars their second straight loss. As they also lost to Kansas on Big Monday last week, lost to Iowa State on Big Monday last week. They got another tough test here that I'm going to be watching after, I get done recording here. They got to go to Allen Fieldhouse, try to beat Kansas there. So really tough stretch there of 3 tough games in 8 days for this Houston team. We'll see if they can maybe bounce back. Manuel Sharp has 14, but same thing. Shoots 2 of 11 from the field. Like 8 of his 14 points are at the free throw line. Like that's something I talk about a lot with Houston is they have this like tough shot making ability where like I feel like their offense really isn't that great. They're very much a defensive team, like slow play it team, and then like wait until late in the shot clock and like a lot of times just kind of come up clutch, hit a big shot. And today they really weren't. Arizona, like I said, just really kind of beat them at their own game. It was a lot of fun to watch. Snack also was in double figures with 10 and 13. Like he was honestly probably Houston's best player in this one. Like just because of, like I said, Arizona was missing some of their bigs where Snack was able to have a big game. But I don't know. I'm like not worried about Houston. I think all these teams are just that good. Where I would start to get worried about Houston is, if they lose again tonight on Big Monday against Kansas, if they lose, drop a couple more games down the stretch. I mean, they're still going to be a 1 or 2 seed. Like worst they'd slip up was to a 3. But honestly, I think being a 1 seed, like I said, is just going to be such a big advantage because there is really seeming to be that last spot for like who can be the last number 1 seed. And also, if I remember correctly, I believe like the South region goes through Houston. Like the South regional is in Houston. Let me look this up quick. South NCAA regional. Because then and 2, it's where like Rice is the host, so Houston is able to play there. So if they can get that last 1 seed, they most likely are going to be playing in Houston, where Toyota Center. They play at the South Regionals at the Toyota Center. So if they can get that last 1 seed, that's probably where they're going to be because Duke's going to be East, Michigan's going to be Midwest, Arizona's going to be West. If Houston can get that last 1 seed, they're going to be playing in the South. If they're a 2 seed, that's not so likely. I mean, maybe if they get lucky, but I kind of doubt they would do that to the 1 seed of having them have to be in the same region as Houston. So I think if Houston doesn't get that last 1 seed, they're probably going elsewhere. So they very much need to get a win, kind of turn things around here, get this last 1 seed. It's going to be a tough battle for there to see if they can pull that out. So to see if they can get that. Just quickly here, we'll kind of go through some other games here. Sorry, I don't know why StreamYard is being kind of glitchy with me here. 1 second. I'm just kind of looking at here the Week 17 AP poll, and then we'll touch quickly on some of those teams here. So like I mentioned, Duke is now number 1, Arizona 2, Michigan 3, Iowa State 4, Houston 5, UConn 6. UConn, they won over the weekend against Villanova 73-63. Big road win there where I almost kind of thought the way Villanova was playing, they'd be able to pull that one out. But UConn gets the win after, losing to Creighton last week during the week. They then have a big game here. Now the rematch against St. John's this week here on Wednesday, this time at UConn at, or no, it's not at Gamble. It's at XL Center here, the big arena for the Huskies in Hartford. So that's going to be really fun. Like that is by far the game to watch on Wednesday. We'll see. I might be live for that one. I don't know. Like usually I go live later on Twitch watching the games, but in all honesty, with that one being the best game of the night and just how good of a game it is, that's probably the one that I'm going to want to rock with. Looking here through else, like I said, Iowa State's 4, but they also lost over the weekend at BYU. 79-69. AJ DeBanza went for 29 in that one. And the Cougars, that was just like they were the more desperate team. Like they wanted it more. I thought they fought hard in that one. Rob Wright had a good game as well. It was a game that, like I said, Iowa State just didn't shoot the ball particularly great. I thought BYU like gave a lot better effort defensively than they have kind of their past couple of games. So really big win there for the Cougars. Florida up to 7. They rolled against Ole Miss 70 or 94-75. Like that one really wasn't even much of a game. It was also like to start the day on Saturday, so it was like before all these big ones were. That one almost just feels like it was like a week ago at this point. Purdue 8. They were off this weekend. 9 Gonzaga, they got the win against Pacific. Like I said, not really much of a challenge there. Gonzaga does have to face St. Mary's this weekend. They already won the first game against the Gales in Spokane, but never an easy game there to go to Moraga. St. Mary's got a big week this week because they play Santa Clara, who's second in the WCC right now, and then Gonzaga to end the week, so that'll be a fun one there. Illinois, also another team that got upset at UCLA, second game of their UCLA trip, 95-94. Where Donovan Dent just goes coast to coast in overtime, lays it in at the buzzer for the win. Just, I don't really know what Illinois was doing there defensively, in all honesty. Like, Donovan Dent is way too quick of a guy to just kind of let him run to the hoop like they did there. That was just, like I said, just very, very odd. I don't really know what they were doing. Virginia got a win as well. They're now up to 11. Virginia's kind of like sneaky underrated here. Which again might sound kind of crazy to say, but they got a big one this weekend here too, against Duke. Coming up, as well as they play NC State this week. So not an easy week here for the Cavaliers. I guess we'll kind of see here what they're really made of. But they, like I said, they get the win over the weekend against Miami, 86-83. Close one there, but able to pull it out. Miami's been playing some pretty good ball too as of late. Other than that, I feel like, kind of the rest of the way, don't really need to touch on St. John's. Rolls against Creighton. There's 15. Kansas, I guess that's the last one I want to talk about. Kansas gets upset at home, 84-68 to Cincinnati, a team where Wes Miller, their coach of Cincinnati, is like apologizing to reporters after games because he knows how unacceptable it is. Granted, since then, Cincinnati hasn't lost. They're sneakily like kind of getting themselves back into maybe they could be on the bubble here and like make the NCAA tournament. But Kansas, this is just so weird. Like Darren Peterson once again did the thing during the week where he like barely plays and, I want to say it was like 23 points in 18 minutes. When I was doing my recap, I didn't really get a chance to watch that one. I was on Peacock. And I was like, oh, Darren Peterson finally played, scored 23 points. So he's the game leader for Kansas. No, he did that in 18 minutes. And then he subs himself out of the game. Like, it's so frustrating. But then this weekend, he finally, like, plays and they lose. Where it's kind of like I was talking about with Kentucky earlier in the year. Like, you just kind of need these guys to either play or not to play. If you're not playing, don't play. If you're going to play, play. And, I almost feel like now the narrative swung so much on Peterson the other way, where I do think there is serious injury like concerns there. I don't think it's just like he doesn't want to play. But yeah, it's just getting kind of frustrating. Like you can tell Bill's self-frustrated. Granted, there's a picture of the weekend that was like kind of telling, but also a little bit misleading, where all 4 of Kansas guys are like huddle up talk, and then Peterson is just not in the huddle. Like I said, it's a little misleading. Like Peterson was talking to the ref. So, he wasn't really given the chance to come back into that huddle yet, but it does just kind of speak volumes a little bit, where it does kind of seem like it's Kansas and then it's Darren Peterson, which I don't know if that's a thing, NIL is making better. It's making worse. Like you could argue, it's making it worse where, the kids now and I don't even think it's really Darren Peterson. I think it's, he's just getting bad advice from someone in his camp. Like, because he's not really even like talking to the media about any of this stuff, which I think is really weird. But yeah, I don't even remember what I was saying. There's just like, you kind of feel for him a little bit, but it's just like being handled very, very poorly by his camp. The NIL thing where, it's kind of maybe, he thinks he's bigger than the school. Like, I don't really think he's holding up his end of the bargain. I think this is where, it's going to kind of now have the reverse effect where some donors be like, why am I paying all this money for this guy if he's not even going to play? But also, I don't know, like if it wasn't for NIL, like he would have just shut it down. Like if he wasn't making any money or, the old school Kansas paying guys under the table, he would have just shut it down by now completely, which I don't know, maybe would be better for Kansas, like I'm saying. But yeah, it's just a very, very odd situation there. And yeah, Kansas, just like I said, didn't really seem to have the same fight. Like Cincinnati almost seemed to be the more motivated team, which kind of crazy there. I guess we can go back to like during the week. You see Alabama moves up all the way to 17. Them and Arkansas played, I think, the game of the year last week during the week on Wednesday. Went to double overtime. Darius Acuff went for 49 for Arkansas on that one. with LeBaron Philon with 35. Like, just watching those two go at it and duel was just an insane game. And also Arkansas like missed a putback dunk at the end of double overtime that would have forced a third of, like, that game very much had shades of the UConn Syracuse Big East game back in the day. It went like 6 overtimes where that's what I'm saying. They make that put back dunk. Who knows? Maybe it does go that deep. So that one was a lot of fun. Miami all the way up to 21 now, their highest ranking since 1978. They remain undefeated here, 27-0. 4 games left in the regular season. It's going to be fun to see if they can complete that, undefeated regular season. I think they're in good shape too. And who knows? I'm debating. I went to the A10 tournament last year. It's in Pittsburgh this year, so I'm thinking about making a trip out there again. But on my way, I'm thinking about stopping in Cleveland, going to the MAC tournament. Granted, it would probably just be the first round, but see Miami in action. I kind of want to get this team, a live look at them because they've been a lot of fun lately. So, got to shout them out. Other than that, Tennessee, they beat their rivals Vanderbilt, gets them all the way up here to 22. That was another fun one. On Saturday, kind of before, or it was going on. Yeah, it started a little bit before the Arizona-Houston game. Excuse me. It was going on kind of similar time. But yeah, Tennessee wins 69-65 at Vanderbilt behind 17 points from Jacoby Gillespie. Like I said, those are two teams that just kind of like middle of the pack there in the SEC, but a rivalry game. Always fun to get a win there. So I think that's going to kind of wrap up the college basketball talk here. Let me just look through quick. Yeah, that's really all I had. Like I said, a lot of really great games. And 3 weeks from today, when we be giving our picks, like, it's going to be a full CBB episode. My hope is, like, I'm trying to get, my guy Matt on. He was here for my bracket breakdown last year. If I get him on and like one more person, we kind of, who knows, I've got a couple, there's other people here on the Variety Sports Network. Might try to get one of them on, or, send in their picks or something and kind of do like a fun, like, hey, best 2 out of 3, 2 people pick this team, they advance. If, kind of thing, or, all 3 of us pick the same team, they advance, and just kind of filling out our bracket that way, like a group bracket. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So that's what I'm hoping to do here in 3 weeks. But let's move on to the NBA now here a little bit. I do want to talk, just since I didn't do a show last week, little bit of All-Star recap. Like I said, it'll be quick since now it's probably not the most relevant, but also I got to give the NBA credit. It seems like the guys like actually kind of did care about a little bit with this format. I also liked that, they had the clock this year as opposed to last year, where just like played to 40 and then like those games went by too quick and it was so much just non-basketball. Where this year it actually was basketball. Granted, do I still think the 2 USA and 1 world team's a little goofy? Yes. But I don't know, like some of the world guys, like Wemby was pissed when they lost that first game on the defensive breakdown. So I thought that was a lot of fun. But yeah, USA Stars beats USA Stripes in the final. Anthony Edwards ends up being the All-Star MVP in this one. So like I said, I honestly kind of thought this format worked. I think it works well doing these like 4 games. Also, I don't know, maybe, like I said, I'd love for them to just like do a normal game again. I think sometimes the players kind of want that more, but also the players not trying to the level they have is kind of what's brought, all these needs for changes. And we're not asking for full go. Like, we're just asking for like an 80-90% effort. Like, literally just don't give up Olay defense and like let guys, throw down dunks all the time. Where that's what I thought, like, this actually was a good job of, like, even if it was just kind of ISO ball, which I think is honestly fun when you see guys like this at, like, having, someone who's like actually going to play defense on whoever's got the ball kind of thing. I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean, even the second game, we have a buzzer beater where Team Stripes beats Team Stars 42-40. Like, all 3 games were good. Even then, Team Stripes against Team Rules, a 48-45 win. It was really just the final that was a bit of a blowout, which was a little bit disappointing. Where, I don't know, that was almost one of those 2 where, and again, it works when it's like close. So you've seen this in the past. I really liked in 2020 when they broke out like the Elam ending and playing to 24 for Kobe. Even if it's not 24, even, a game like this, you want to play to, I don't know, I think last year they did like 40, like do a game to 40. Like, I think that'd be cool, especially too, because like these 2 teams already played, and then it's just the, final, just kind of the championship, like doing, so like what I'm saying here is like, okay, Team Stripes beats Team Stars 42-40. So then like doing the target score where whoever scores, say you want to do 25, so you want to do 40, whatever number, add that amount of points. So if I'm saying here 40, like they play to 82, whichever team scores 82 first wins, and just kind of doing a continuation on of the first game. And I kind of like that too, where then, you have like at times of these closer games, you've gotten like I said, in 2020, the guys down the stretch being like, oh, this is game point. Like, I got to lock up here. I got to, try to win. And granted, there also was times that it was a blowout in the fourth quarter. And that didn't really matter, which again, you saw here in that championship game. But thought that was a very fun format. I definitely would recommend it again. I don't know. I wouldn't even mind them, doing some sort of like drafting 3 teams. Like I said, I've liked the draft, the playground style here a little bit in the past. I think that could be fun. Um, or I don't know, maybe you do some sort of like East, West, Central, where I guess then it would probably just be like the Central Division in the South, or yeah, I guess I don't know. Do like the East, the West, and the Midwest, where yeah, like the Southwest Division and the Central Division make up the Midwest team, like the All Stars from that or something. I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit too goofy with the geography, or I don't know. Maybe with the incoming expansion teams that we're getting here, maybe they switch up the divisions, and granted, NBA divisions are the most useless thing. Where then I don't know, maybe you can figure something out that way as well. So yeah, but I kind of almost like this 3 teams. I wasn't coming into it. I wasn't a huge fan. I always have kind of thought like if we're gonna do teams, like do what the NHL does when they did like the all-star divisions and play 3-on-3. Like I feel like this like 8-team format is 8 guys on a team playing 5-on-5 is kind of weird, but honestly it kind of works where it's enough guys where the guys that don't really want to play, like, Luka and Jokic, like they can just kind of sit on the bench and not have to play like they started, and then they quite literally just like didn't play the rest of the time. So that's fine. I guess, like I said, I think 3-on-3 would really reduce that, where it's just like you could have the 3 guys that want to play. But honestly, this format worked. I wouldn't mind doing it again. Going on Saturday, I'm gonna be honest, I had not watched Saturday. It also threw me off that with like the Olympic coverage here, all this stuff was during the day. Like I said, I really only watched the All-Star game on Sunday because just like there's very little college basketball on Sundays, or especially with my multiple screen setup that I got, I don't really need to be super locked in on the game. So Saturday, on the other hand, when there's a lot of great games 2 Saturdays ago, did not get the chance to watch. But Lillard wins the 3-point contest despite not playing in a game all year. Thought that was kind of funny. Team Knicks wins the Shooting Stars competition, and Shad Johnson wins the NBA dunk contest. The dunk contest kind of gets clowned. I don't really know. It's almost like, it used to be the signature event, and I don't know, maybe this is something that too we can get. I would love to see a one-on-one tournament. I mean, we saw it here, like in the Unrivaled League does it. If they could replace the dunk contest with a one-on-one, and I mean, you saw it here, like they brought back the Shooting Stars, they got rid of the skills challenge after the whole debacle with, the Spurs team with Chris Paul and Wemby cheating the skills challenge last year. Like, I don't know, almost think that's kind of needs to be what they do, is just kind of like rotate the events they do on Saturday night. I think the 3-point contest, it can stay. It's a 3-point contest. It's whatever. It's a good like starting event kind of thing, or I guess they do it second. But yeah, it's like a good event. Honestly, like I'd be fine with maybe not being the last event, like especially you get like that one-on-one tournament. But yeah, like I feel like the 3-point contest can be a yearly thing. It's pretty much the same every year. It's the similar format. Granted, I guess they've like they've added these deep threes and stuff like that. But other than that, like the 3-point contest can stay, and then just kind of pick like 1 or 2 other events to do every year. I think could be fun. So yeah, that would kind of be my thing with that. But again, like I'm gonna be honest here, I didn't watch it. I just kind of at this point accept it's not really for me. It's not something like I'm gonna spend a lot of time. Yeah, when I was a kid, or even kind of in high school, in college, like it was fun to kind of get together and watch. But now it's the guys don't try. They don't really really spend their time. So I'm not gonna waste my time. It's not for me. Is just kind of what I'm accepting. But yeah, now we're on here to the NBA second half. Just kind of look here at the standings. Look at kind of some teams to watch. Once again, still we got Detroit in first, Boston second, New York third, Cleveland fourth, Toronto fifth, and Philly sixth out east. I feel like that's probably what we're going to look at here. Jason Tatum might potentially come back for Boston. We'll see. It does seem like he's kind of starting to ramp up. That'd be really impressive if he was able to. But I don't know. I'd say probably not. We're probably looking at Detroit here. Winning the East. They're up 5 games. I don't think Boston's really going to care enough or have the guys come back in time for them to catch them. The Knicks are playing some good ball here as of late. I've enjoyed watching them play. It seems like Cat is kind of figuring out they're 7-3. All these top teams here are red hot and won, 8-2 or 7-3 in their last 10 games. Even Cleveland's playing pretty well. The James Harden addition has really worked out well. So I think those are going to be the top 4 teams, you kind of see here coming down the stretch. I think they're going to be a lot of fun. Where, that's top 4 being the 4, I think should be fun. I almost feel like, Knicks and Celtics is probably going to be the conference finals. Like, I don't know. I feel like in the NBA, you kind of have to take your lumps a little bit where, I don't know, maybe where Cleveland got upset last year, maybe they upset Detroit this year. We'll have to see, especially now with an experienced guy like Harden. But yeah, that the East should be pretty fun there. Out West, OKC now only 3 games up on San Antonio for first place. The Spurs kind of slowly creeping in there. They've won 8 straight, 9-1 in their last 10, playing some good ball. And then you got Nuggets, Rockets, Lakers, Timberwolves, all right there. Really, for me, like I said, in the West, I think it's those top 2 teams, the Thunder and Spurs, that we're probably just going to get in the conference final. Maybe Denver. Denver could maybe beat San Antonio in a playoff series. Like, I'm not counting out Nikola Jokic by any means, but I really just don't see outside of those top 3 any of the other teams winning. Or wait, sorry, let me change the graphic here. Where, I just think those three teams are the better than the rest, and where, maybe Minnesota or like LA or the Rockets go, really probably not the Lakers, but like Minnesota or Houston could go on a run again like they have before. Um, Phoenix kind of fighting here a little bit, granted not playing super great balls of late. Golden State, they have their injuries. I'm not really counting out. So I really just think it's those top 3. And it'll just kind of be interesting. I would probably end up same thing. We're probably just gonna end up with the top 4 teams unless Minnesota's like right there in the mix too. Maybe Minnesota jumps up to get that 4 seed. But other than that, I'm really just kind of looking at those top 3 teams there in the East. So teams to watch here in the second half. I would say, like I said, I'm probably going Boston in the East. I think they're going to be a lot of fun. And then another team to keep an eye on, Charlotte Hornets. They're currently in 10th. I feel like they were a good story this year, 7-3 in their last 10 as well, where it's a team that I hope we see them, get into the actual playoffs. So right now they're in the play-in at this point, unless the Bucks jump them. But honestly, the way they've been playing, I don't really see, like, if the Bucks are going to jump them, I think it's going to be like an Atlanta or a Miami that falls out more than, I guess, probably more likely in Atlanta. So I guess Charlotte's going to be a fun team to watch. I have my eyes on them. They've been playing some good ball. So yeah, Charlotte's going to be my second half team to watch there. Again, not to like, win the East by any means, but they're just a fun team. I would watch them. And then out West, like I said, it's really probably San Antonio. Like, see if they can maybe somehow catch OKC after all the talk of, how much OKC is just kind of better than everyone else, how they're running away with it. And then other than that, maybe like a Minnesota. See if they, like I said, right now the 6, I would say, is kind of disappointing for them. I would say they want to, and they beat Denver in the playoffs, would probably avoid that matchup. They could kind of move up in the standings. That's what they're probably looking at there. So I would say, my teams to watch out West are San Antonio and Minnesota. But that's going to wrap it up. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. A lot of great shows, here on the Fast Break, on Variety Sports Network, as along with Fast Break. I know 5-hole recorded last night talking about that USA hockey victory. So make sure to check that one out as well. We're gearing up for baseball. Spring training started. So 7th inning stretch. They've been doing a great job. Like I said, I know I might try to get Darren on from there on one of these shows, especially come March here, and talk a little college hoops as well. I know he's a hoop head himself. So yeah, a lot of great stuff here on the Variety Sports Network. So for me, your host, Shoot the Rock, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next week. Peace.